Barbelling and clubs used to be similar. If you look back at the early 1900s, the late 1800s, you see barbells used to be actual wagon wheels or train axles, or they were fixed weights. They weren't adjustable. Training got much better when we created micro-loadable adjustable barbells, the Olympic barbell system. Same thing is true of clubs. The more weights you have, the more adjustment you have, the better your overall outcome is. If you have just one heavy weight, your odds of success are incredibly low, just like if you had just a 200-pound barbell. If you can take your barbell down to 45 and you can add 5 pounds on each side and you can work on your movements, your training gets much better. Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we're going to talk about heavy club swinging and the equipment that you need in order to improve your athletic performance, no matter what sport you play. Humans have thumbs for a reason. It's so that you can hold onto and use levers. You have axes, hammers, shovels, the things that have built all of human civilization, no matter where on the planet, no matter what time frame. And then you have the things that defend civilization, spears, axes, swords. There are base human movement patterns that we just don't do that much in the modern world, and that is why the majority of the modern world has something like persistent back pain, or knee pain, or elbow pain, or shoulder pain. We are not moving the way that we did when we lived closer to the land with less machines to do all the work for us. In the modern world, we sit down all the time. We sit down in planes, we sit down on trains, we sit down in automobiles, we sit down at work. If you go back even 100 years, people had a much more active lifestyle. They walked the majority of places, probably while carrying something in their hands. That's the idea of farmers' carries. And they used tools every day. People used axes to split firewood. People built things constantly with the use of hammers. There was a lot of hole digging in history, and that's the use of a shovel. You have your lifting and carrying, your ability to do pure work with heavy loads. That means endurance weightlifting. And you have your ability to swing levers. When you go to the gym, there is basically no lever swinging, almost none, whether it be bodybuilding or CrossFit or collegiate sport training. There is a missing piece in training, and it is heavy club swinging. The problem with heavy club swinging has been the equipment. If you went back 100 years, you had clubs in absolutely every gym. You had rope, you had club, you had Atlas stone, you had dumbbells, you had circus dumbbells. And people did more integrated types of training because they looked at strength differently. They did not have symmetrical strength like a barbell. Barbells are relatively new in human history, and Olympic lifting is relatively new. Club swinging is as old as civilization. It is recorded in every major civilization that we know about, and the god of strength always had a club. Club swinging became popular again about 15 years ago. The problem was the weights were limited, so not many people could do it, and it was too expensive. You had 15-pound clubs, 20, 25, and then there was a huge problem because it jumped from 25 to 35-pound clubs, and then it jumped from 35 to 45. Really good trainers could solve that problem, but the majority of people in the world did not do it because it was not as well understood as Olympic lifting. The company ADEX Mason Club has solved that problem by creating a whole system like an Olympic barbell, and we have created training like Olympic lifting training, which is well understood, and it is a 5 to 10 year program easily. We're going to talk about each one of these pieces of equipment and then talk about why it's useful. The first piece of equipment we have here is the Wildman handle. This is a handle which is a specific diameter so that your fingers do not interfere with your grip, so that you can work on making sure your grip closes. The Wildman system starts with a 4.5 pound handle. That means somebody who is older, somebody who has back pain, somebody who has shoulder pain, somebody who has knee pain can start at a lightweight, work on their movement patterns, and then micro load it like it's an Olympic bar so that they can work on the most important movements. Think handle plus spindle. Now we're up to 6 pounds. This is the important piece. It is a 1.25 pound weight. Think of this like the micro loading of a barbell. It allows you to add a very small amount of weight. We go to 7.25, then we have 2.5 pound weights, and then we have 5 pound weights. For your basic two-handed heavy club training, men tend to start around 15 pounds. That would be handle plus 3 5 pound weights. and they work on their most important movements. It's the same as it is with Olympic lifting. It is squats, it is presses, it is hip hinges. The difference is we can now add rotation to all of those movements. Every sport is rotation. You should be training weighted rotation. This system, this base handle system, gets us with 19 weight increments from 4.5 pounds up to 26 pounds, 27 pounds. If you get to 30 pounds with your two-handed club, your entire life will be different forever. Just like Olympic lifting, the longer you do the training, the more your movement patterns change, the more permanent the adaptation becomes. When we move from this base kit, we go up to our add-on kit. This is a 15-pound oversleeve and a 5-pound oversleeve with a longer spindle. The base idea comes with a shorter spindle, and then we move to a longer spindle so we can add the thickness of the bottom of this system so that we can continue to be safe. The most important thing in weightlifting is that everything works well so that we can rely on it, so that we can go up in weight, so we can focus on our technique. This is a nesting system where the weights fit inside. When we stack it all up, we get to 45 to 50 pounds. 50 pounds is very specific. You see 50-pound dumbbells show up all the time in CrossFit, and 50 pounds shows up everywhere in human history. When you check a bag on an airplane, it's 23K, which is about 50 pounds. If you stack grain in a barn, those are 50-pound bags of grain. 50 pounds is a universally movable weight, and you should be able to move it nonstop for up to 30 minutes at a time. The difference is a 50-pound club requires you to move much better than a 50-pound dumbbell. Because it is a lever, if your skeleton is not in the right place, you will not be able to lift it. Heavy clubs are a missing link in training because by doing a program, you force yourself into better structural alignment. You integrate structure, breathing, and movement, the basis of endurance, the basis of athleticism for the most important movements. People can move poorly forever if they do not have a good movement training program. Any type of club program will make you move better if you start with a lightweight and you get to a heavyweight. The add-on kit gets us up to about 50 pounds. Think 15, 20 pounds, if you want to use a martial arts analogy, is a white belt level. Think 50 pounds is a brown belt level. Above 50 pounds, we get to this, what we call the Mastodon kit, because it's really, really big. We have a 20-pound oversleeve and a 10-pound oversleeve. Once again, these things are designed to nest together so that you can use your base handle so that the system adds up. The goal is not to spend money a bunch of times. It's to get one thing, like an Olympic barbell, and add weights over time. Get more big plates, get more little plates, get more adjustments. When we take the base handle, the add-on kit, and the Mastodon kit, we're pushing 75 to 80 pounds. This is historically useful. People 100 years ago could lift 80-pound clubs for an exercise called a shield cast for hundreds of reps. That is a crazy thing in the modern world. We simply do not have that much leverage strength. If you are a martial artist, this is what you're looking for. This is your ability to take punishment and create rotational power. Doesn't matter what your sport, rotational power is good, integrated body strength is good. When you get beyond the Mastodon kit, we get to the Gladiator kit. This now becomes a solid piece, 50 pounds. Instead of a handle, we now have a 50-pound chunk of metal. And then once again, we can start to nest these systems. And we have these 12.5-pound weights. Think of this as like an Olympic 45-pound plate. And we can take 50 and we can get up to 75. Once again, everything should be designed to work together. So everything is designed to nest. Once we get all of our weights on here, we can now be pushing 105 pounds. The math gets really simple once we push 105 pounds. When you think about barbelling, you have your 100% 1 rep max, then you have your heavy 2, you have a heavy 3, you have 5 sets of 5, and then you control this by percentage. The goal is to get our 50% higher because our useful working weight becomes higher. Clubs are heavier because they are a longer lever. The center of mass is further away from your hand. Barbells, the center of mass is in the center of your hand, so they don't really rotate very well, but they get very good at max straight line lifting. We need to add rotation lifting and max rotational lifts. Once we get up here, the number of exercises that we do goes down. With a smaller weight, we work on 11 core single arm movements. We work on two-handed clubbing. We work on 56 movements. When we get up to a really, really heavy weight, 50 to 100 pounds, we're probably only working on 15 movements. The heavier the weight, just like in barbelling, the less complex the movements become. But that doesn't mean that we don't try to get to more complex movements with heavy weight. The same way you are never done with barbell training, you are never done with heavy club training. You should be working on it probably 5 days a week, alternating between a light day, a medium day, and a heavy day, 5 days a week for the rest of your life. This is the first time in modern history that we have a kit that takes people from injured or deconditioned, walks them up with micro-loading weights, and does all of your Olympic lifting stuff, but adds rotation to it, starting with our base kit, the Wildman ADEX adjustable club system, going to the add-on kit, then getting up to the Mastodon kit. Think your introductory movements, make your movement better, change everything about your life, get up to 50 pounds. This is where 90% of the population should be able to get to. The Mastodon kit is think 90 to 99% of athletes, not just the population of athletes. And then think the Gladiator kit is the top 1% of athletes are going to be the only guys who can probably push this far and push this hard and push this long. You should work on your base human movement patterns. Throwing is the thing that separates us from everything else on the planet. The use of tools separates us from everything else on the planet. You should be training it 5 days a week forever.